welcome back to another episode of the Closers Club. Today we have a very special guest, Ms. Rachel. She was actually our dispositions manager back when we ran Nationwide Property Liquidator. So welcome. Appreciate you coming and doing this in person in the podcast studio.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to be here.
Cool. And you're so shy. You're not that shy. So let's kind of go way back. Like, how did we meet? You came to us at our wholesale company. You were right out of college?
Yeah. I just graduated from UTC. Yep. And I was just looking for something out of college. Didn't know really what I wanted to do. I mean, I majored in Spanish language and literature and communication. So there were many possibilities, but I was just kind of stuck. And I'm looking at jobs, and then I see this position, and I was like, let me try this out. And then they called me and had me in for an interview, and the rest was history from there. Yeah, you came in and we're right out of the gate selling properties. I think for us, you know, one of the things that made you appealing for us is, one, you spoke Spanish. So that's always cool. Anytime you can have somebody that speaks multiple languages, but, you know, just young and a lot of energy and lots of ideas and, you know, let me do these different things. So certainly you were amazing for us, and you worked for us for years and years and years. But yeah, you definitely shot right out of the gate. It was you, Cassandra, and Taylor, and you guys were absolute just rock stars, really put our company on the map and stayed with us for years as we went to different offices. Right. But what, do you remember back, what was it like in the beginning, wholesaling? Because that's a weird thing, right? Most people don't, outside of our world, they don't even understand it. So can you even remember back that far? What were you thinking? I do remember it almost just like it was yesterday. Yeah. I mean, I'd come from a sales background, but never real property. Yeah. Dealing with the kinds of sales and the amount of money that people were spending on these properties. Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, I would always push to go and see them, you know, whether it was Birmingham, Huntsville, North
you went out
Georgia,
a lot. You're like, can I go?
Windows.
Can I go? I'm like, if you want, you don't have to, but if you want to.
But it was scary at first because I'm just talking to people. But the more that I started talking to people, and regardless of whether or not we could relate on certain things, it was a lot about identifying the client that you were speaking to. And I feel like that's one really great tool that David and his team taught me at the time was you have to know who's a driver, who's analytical. And once you can tell how this person rolls, then you can take over and take control of the conversation or the negotiation or the deal at that point. Yeah, I do think that so much of when you're having that initial conversation, and people call it building rapport or whatever it is, just kind of feeling them out a little bit and just, seeing, what their personality type is. So I know you sold just literally hundreds of properties. Any crazy things that you remember, just wild and wacky people, or? Oh, there were always wild and wacky people.
They're investors, of course they are.
I think one thing that amazed me the most starting out was we had a fire burnt property. I believe it was over here in East Ridge, actually. And just the amount of people and the traction that we were getting off of that. I mean, and it got sold. Yeah. But just seeing what investors are looking for really kind of shaped how I moved forward by doing wholesaling for you guys. It was like, okay, it's not your pretty white picket fence house and the American dream. They're remodeling it or tearing it down to create that. So what I might like or what I might think is desirable or has value is completely different in that world because they're adding that value.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing. And I've seen that with so many investors over the years is they think what they want, right? Oh, I want a brick 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in the nice part of town, maybe East Brainerd for us here in Chattanooga. Yeah. And then they sort of project that onto everybody else. And that's not the case. Investors are different. Their driver is how can they make money, right? So on the disposition side, that's something we always learned and tried to explain that to the acquisitions people is, when you're putting something under contract, think about, how does your end buyer make money on it? Because if they can't make money, you're just never going to sell that. And then you're going to just feel like you're dragging bricks up a hill. So no, I think that's a really great lesson for new wholesalers, even some experienced ones, to really understand is that there's a buyer for everything. I remember once I was doing on-site coaching, and I was in like Virginia somewhere, and it was this husband and wife team, and she was great, and he was like sort of cranky old guy, and he's like, oh, not all these properties will sell, and I'm like, everything will sell. Unfortunately, it will sell for the right price. We don't want it to always be about price, but I remember pointing across the street. We were at this like Hardee's for breakfast. And I'm like, see that? Like it was like this barn. They're kind of crooked, and you could see through it. I'm like, would you buy that for $1? Of course. He goes, of course I would. I'm like, well, everything will sell.
Yeah.
It's either the right price or just making sure that you do enough sales and marketing, and I think that probably carries through even to now in your retail world, right? Trying to
most definitely
figure out that there is a buyer. There's a buyer for everything at every price. Just you don't want to make it any harder than it has to be, right? You do want to try to price stuff differently or correctly, rather.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the comparative market analysis that I do, which are available through like the MLS. Yeah. It really breaks down. And the funny thing is, a lot of people don't realize that it's possible. I can look at something and tell you what somebody would pay for it without even doing all the stuff on the computer. And then I go on the computer and I'm nailing the head right on. Yeah. And so there's been some pushback, I feel like, on the retail side because everybody wants to sell their house for $1 million.
Yeah.
I mean, that's never going to change.
Yeah.
But one thing I really focus on the retail side is bringing my clients back down to reality and showing them why, and this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Even 3-4 months ago, I feel like we were more in a seller's market, and I feel like now we're kind of shifting toward a buyer's market, and buyers can demand things that they want and ask for concessions and win certain negotiations because the rates, the Fed, politics, everything kind of bleeds into it. And whether or not it's actually on paper and it's actually affecting them, sometimes just the way people feel about certain things will definitely affect a deal.
And I think that's your job, even as an investor. Like as an investor, we're here to help people and solve that problem. And as an agent, you do the same thing.
Right.
And, it's bringing them down to earth or, establishing, hey, do you want to sell this? Like, do you need to sell this in 30 days, 60 days, 120 days, 2 years? Well, if you want to sell it in the next 30 to 60 days, then this is the number.
Right.
Right. And that was something I would always ask like Mark Hyde or whoever was my agent, like, hey, I need to get this thing sold in this amount of time. This is the box that I'm working it within. So what price goes in that box, right?
Yeah.
What makes this happen in that amount of time? And I think that's important because unfortunately, listen, there are bad people in every industry. There are bad doctors, bad cab drivers, bad investors, bad agents who just don't do a good job. But it's important to tell people the truth.
Right.
And, hey, if that's what you want, this is the number.
Yeah.
If you have all the time in the world and you're just thinking about selling, you don't really need to sell and you're just testing the market, put whatever price you want on it, right?
Exactly.
I'll list, I'm not an agent, but I would list anything, right?
Right.
But, I don't want to let you down. And I think this is where it's so important to have that relationship because we are in the trust economy, right? People do business with people they know, like, and trust, and they're going to trust you to, make sure that their deal gets sold.
Yeah.
So do you think where you talk about being able to kind of pin the tail on the donkey with the price, that's easier because you spent so much time working with cash buyers and because, in the wholesale business, that's different than retail. Like we're under the gun. You got like 5 days to sell these things.
Right.
So speed, count, and being accurate is so important. We don't have a ton of time to do a bunch of different price reductions. So do you think that kind of helped shape kind of where you're at now and how you evaluate these deals?
Most definitely. Just by looking at all of these properties and the training that you guys provided and just heavily immersing us in this market specifically, Chattanooga, greater Chattanooga, North Georgia areas, you have to know what things are selling for at different square footage. Even if it's East Brainerd, what side of East Brainerd are you on? Are you on the Tyner side? Or are you closer to Gun Barrel? Are you back out towards Appleton?
Yeah.
All of these things play a very big factor as far as what a property would be valued at and what you could potentially sell for or buy it for.
Yeah. And I think that's a struggle that we have, even us, when we were virtually investing in other markets, is you drop into a new market and you do the best you can. You run your comps within a mile and you're like, oh, I'm just going to average those. But sometimes within that mile, there can be radically different neighborhoods. Like we see it here, I'm sure you do. People come from out of town and they get something in Alton Park, which is not the best area. It's like literally the only part of Chattanooga that I will not invest in. It's coming around. It's finally coming around because it was the last spot. But then literally there's train tracks and on the other side is the historic district at the edge of Lookout Mountain.
Right.
So if you contract something here, but you pull these comps, you're going to be off by $100,000. You're
Right.
not even going to be in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think that's definitely important, is being able to understand the area and, evaluate those comps kind of correctly.
Well, one thing I'd like to point out about Alton Park is that it is one of the last areas that is really getting hit with this gentrification, if you will. A lot of new homes being put up over there.
Yeah. Our friend Reggie Jordan is building just
Yep.
a ton of properties over there, doing a great job.
And what it comes down to on the investment side is getting into one of these lots, a vacant lot per se, at the right price.
Yeah.
My builder particularly, I mean, we use some of the highest value products. You know, we're not just putting up a stick build and slapping some LVP and calling it a day. These are really high quality properties.
Yeah.
But the only way that we're able to do that, and what allows us to do that, is how we come in from the very beginning. We can't come in high and then try to sell high, because like you said, we know our threshold is only going to go so, like the price point's only going to go so high.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a big factor, but I enjoy it because we are getting into a new area.
Yeah.
And then I see people looking around, people that have owned properties in that area for years and years, and then they want to sell their land for $80,000.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's not happening.
Matthew, remember we were driving around a couple weeks ago. We were over on Cannon Ave. I don't know if you know where that is, kind of off of Rossville Boulevard.
Yeah.
And I was talking about some deals that we did way, way, way back in the day. And, being the first person into those areas is risky, right? Because you're, the first person to go, or the first couple of people to go into Alton Park, which is it's just a tough rundown area. It just is. Like, I've wholesaled a lot of deals over there, but I don't personally own any properties there.
Right.
But, sooner or later, the path of progress is just going, all the other areas have gotten so expensive that just becomes the only spot for people to go to.
Yeah.
And there's definitely risk as an investor going in there. But you being the first one, you get the glory. You get those lots for $10,000, which, 3 years later start selling for $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 like every place else. But yeah, there's certainly a challenge there in saying, hey, I'm going to build a really nice house next to
An okay house.
Yeah, let's just say okay. Like meaning, it has 4 walls.
Right.
So, I mean, kudos to them for doing that. But, it does take those investors to take that risk. You know, and that's why, there is danger and risk in being an investor, but that's why we make money, right?
Right.
Because it doesn't always work. There are times where it doesn't pan out, or maybe we're a little bit too early.
Right. Well, I mean, I've seen even $1 million houses sit on the market for over 200 days before they go under contract. The market is really the largest determining factor, I feel like, because I can have a 1950 house that's been remodeled and is beautiful, but it's not going to sell as fast as my new construction, even in Alton Park.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's, when I was rehabbing houses, when I had the 1950, 1960, 70 house, even though it was remodeled nice, I knew I couldn't, if the new house was selling at $300,000, I was not $300,000, I was $260,000.
Right.
You know what I mean? There had to be a reason. The way I would think about it is, if somebody coming and looking at my house, they look at my house and they look at the new construction, what makes them pick my house over that one? Like, I can make it nice. I can't make it brand new.
Right.
So the only thing I can compete on is price.
Yeah.
Maybe I can add a few amenities that house doesn't have, maybe. So I have to go in all the way at the beginning when I'm making my offer, knowing that this is my offer, these are my repairs, this is what I make for profit, but this is the number I have to be able to sell at. So I think that's really important for our investors to keep in mind as well. So you were with us for years and years and years. You left. You were kind of working. Your husband worked on the road, so you were traveling with him, still selling deals. And you came back for a little bit, but then you left and you went and worked. You went to work for News Channel 9.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was so jealous. I was watching all of your posts. I wanted to message you and be like, "Can I come down and just watch the news be made?" Like I really wanted to see that. I think that was really cool. What was that experience like? What made you go do that? Well, I know you were kind of always doing performing and stuff like that, so it did kind of seem like a natural progression.
Right. Well, I got the opportunity, and at first, I really, it was like I'd been doing that forever.
Yeah.
You get all of these stories. You see so many things coming in, whether you get notifications from the police department or things that's happening in Nashville. And I spent my days, or nights rather, just compiling hundreds of different stories. I couldn't
You
use
were
all
like
of
a
them.
producer.
Right.
Nice. That's awesome.
So I couldn't use every story. So I'm having to try to figure out what would be the best thing, especially in the morning show. What people want to wake up and see. I mean, your local news, you want to know what's happening, a follow-up from last week or the day before, big story that's happening. But also to keep your audience through the commercial break is one of the biggest things that, aside from the creativity and everything, there's ratings that we had to go by, which I had one of the highest rated shows in the 2 years that I was there, which was the 6 a.m., which was actually difficult for them at that time. Because they're competing with other stations, Local 3, Channel 12. So I just absolutely loved it. And especially, like I was telling you earlier, we'd go into the studio and we have like 7 screens, and then you have live shots from here. Like say there was like a helicopter crash in New Jersey or something. We could be in the middle of a newscast and I'm like, tell my director, hey, pull this up. I talk to my anchors, type in a little bit of scripted information, and they're rolling with it, completely improving and ad-libbing what's happening live.
So you'd be very light on your feet and be able to just transition quick. So give us a little behind the scenes. Like people say, oh, the news, they just do bad news. They don't ever talk about good news. But I'm sure you, as being behind the scenes, you must have some thoughts on that, right? Like puppy dogs are great, right? But that doesn't keep people through the commercial, does it?
No, not necessarily. And there's a time in each show for that, because I would have an hour-long show. Maybe at that 30-minute mark, I might use a teaser or
Sprinkling
preview.
a little positivity.
A little preview of what is to come. And typically we'd like to end our shows maybe with some viewer photos that they would send in, of course, of their animals, cats, dogs, or a beautiful sunset or rainbows. And there's also just like really funny stories that you can get from national stations or sister stations of just crazy event. I can't even put my finger on one specific thing, but there's always good news to tell. But my focus was getting and it's hard to say what I felt like was the most important, but what
you got to
people
shape
will
news
benefit
for
from.
people for the day based off of what you put together. That's cool. That's powerful.
Yeah, and I mean, that was like when the October 7th attack, that was horrible. And for many, many weeks, my shows were constructed around what are the new developments, what is happening, the presidential elections.
I was going to say, for people that don't know what happened on October 7th, it was a big deal here. That was the terrorist.
In Israel. So thousands of Israelis, they were killed in a terrorist attack. And there was a lot of people here locally, even in Chattanooga, that had family that were either at the festival or just in Israel that, the Iron Dome is going off, sirens are going off constantly. They don't know when they can come home. There was a missionary that was from Chattanooga that was stuck there during this time. So it was localized, but it was also a nationwide thing.
Was there ever any like wild like blooper stuff or stuff that kind of went sideways and you're like, oh my God, we gotta,
whether it was like a green screen mishap or I have anchors who, and they were all awesome and amazing, but I had to learn them very well because they all came from different places. Most of my anchors were not local. So I have people from North Dakota, Minnesota, New York. They all have different accents, right? So in my mind, I'm, writing a script. There might be a word that they can't, or when it just pops up, they're like, I don't know how to pronounce that, or they'll butcher it completely.
That happens to me when I'm just reading out. Even if ChatGPT does a script, and I'm like, the series of 8 words put together, like I cannot get it out of my mouth. Like I don't know. I'm like, there's times I'll do like 10 takes. I'm like, fuck this, we're rewriting this. It's just not coming out. Like I don't know what it is.
Unfortunately, when you're live though, you can't do that.
Yeah, there's no extra takes.
So it's just like, okay, keep rolling. Or there would be an instance where a miscommunication between me and a director, and they're talking about a story, but it's a completely, what you're seeing on the screen is not correlating with what that person is talking about. So things can go wrong really quickly, but it's all about how fast you can bounce back. And most of the time, people don't even notice.
That's right. Most people, the things that we think are big deals, like, oh my gosh, my shirt's been crooked all day. Nobody's noticed, right? But, and then some of it's just having a little sense of humor and just rolling with it. Like SNL, like they just roll with it. Like
one time a bee was stuck in one of my anchor's hair, and I don't even know how the bee got in there, but a viewer actually in a commercial break, they called and was like, hey, have her check. She has a bee on her head. Oh my gosh. But I mean, they're stuck there, so they're not fixing their hair and moving around. They're focused on getting the information out and speaking. So
yeah, because a lot of times those people doing remotes, it's just them and a camera, right? Like a little, is it like a little remote control that makes them go live? I'm like, what?
Well, that's part of what the production does in the back. So, I mean, we're in control of all of that, switching from commercial breaks to counting them down, going live. Like I said, if there is a live shot of something, or like we'd have a live reporter, we have to go to her and cue her in. And I'd have like, depending on who it was and the system they had, the little digital systems, IVFs that they had, IFBs, I'd have to cue them maybe 10 seconds before they were supposed to go on. And so I'd be like, hey, can you hear me? And I'd be like, and they'd be like, yeah, I hear you. And I was like, oh man, okay. So I knew that when we went to go live, I'd have to cue them way earlier than what you would think.
So see, Matthew, our going live on Instagram, nothing compared to that kind of pressure. Sometimes when we're going, we have a little countdown clock when we do it on the other spot, and then we're trying to go live on Instagram, and I'm like waiting for it to connect. Yeah. And I'm like waiting, and it's always like 22 seconds out of 30. I'm like, okay, and we can click the button.
Right.
So how long were you well, first off, like how hard was it once you got hired to get up and running? Like that feels like a lot of moving parts.
Well, I mean, I went to school for it. Yeah. So a lot of things, of course, I had to learn all the technology because it had been years and years since I'd been in front of any kind of those kind of softwares. But as far as catching on and learning how to place a show, how to stack a show, how to put what where, and there's also other moving parts. I'd have to pick out the graphics. I'm also doing the lower thirds, like at the bottom of the screen, when they're talking about something and it pops up, breaking news, this. Yeah. I was the one in control of that.
Wow.
So that part took a couple weeks, but as far as just learning it and putting my shows together, I mean, that was almost instantly. I just absolutely loved it. It was.
I think it's awesome. We could talk all day about this. It's not even real estate. I am fascinated by.
Funny thing though, that's one thing that I always would go back to my whole career that I was there. I'd always miss selling and working with investors, working with people, doing real estate. I had a segment when I was going over stocks. I had a segment where, especially for the longest, all the short-term vacation rental business that was happening, that was something that I covered frequently as well.
So you were on camera too?
No, I was not on camera. Oh, okay. I was always behind the scenes.
All right. Because people don't know you're a good singer too.
Oh, yeah. I do that too. I do that too. I'm actually getting into modeling and acting right now as well.
It. I can see that.
But yeah, no, it was a great experience. Definitely not for the faint of heart. The Newsroom, I'd go back to wholesaling before I think I went back to a newsroom. I mean, it's just crazy.
Pressure, right?
It is a lot of pressure.
And there's never any like relief, like just getting through today and then it starts again tomorrow.
Right.
And then it just starts again, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can produce a really great newscast. You can win awards and things like that. But it's always what's next, next. And it was like that in wholesaling too. I mean, we'd be in our Monday morning meeting and be like, all right.
What you did last week don't matter.
Exactly. But
get on the phone. We're starting at zero again.
Yeah. But in that world, it's seems almost less gratifying because no matter how great you do, it's second by second, minute by minute, what's next. So
the life cycle's got to be a lot shorter, right?
Right.
They must burn through people like crazy.
Oh yeah, they do.
Really?
But I stuck it out for my 2 years. So.
Yeah, you did a lot. So, but then you just felt a call and you wanted to go back to real estate.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. And my husband was definitely a driving force in getting me back in the industry, which I had to go through all that schooling. I just I hosted a career night at Keller Williams earlier this week.
Nice.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
And just being able to talk to people, I mean, they all seem so scared at first, like literally deer in headlights, like what's going on. And then they hear how much it costs, to even get started up. But like I explained to them.
Which really isn't much, right? What is it?
It's about $3,100.
Is it $3,100? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, but it's all in different stages. So you pick your school. I went to Trees.
Yeah.
And
I had an option to buy in and be an owner of Trees about 8 years ago.
Really? Wow.
I should have.
Yeah, you should have.
But I'm a wholesaler. I don't want to. But I knew one of Ron. What's his? He may have passed away now, but he was one of the original owners of it. And he had talked to me about it, and I just kind of dismissed it. Should've.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, the schooling it wasn't intimidating so much as because I like learning in person. That's one thing I loved about working for you guys because it was always hands-on. I was able to ask questions. I mean, even, of course, all the calls were recorded, but I could get critiqued and find out what I'm doing well and what I'm not doing well. Yeah. And you already know for a fact, like, he had these contests. He'd be like, all right, whoever memorizes the script gets a, lunch or 50 bucks or whatever. Yeah. And he was like, oh, my God, I have never met anyone that could literally verbatim, word by word.
Yeah. I'm impressed with that because my memory is the fucking worst. Like, I'm good at, like, just kind of talking. But, like, if you tell me, like, this is why I have to use a teleprompter all the time because I just can't do it. Mark Hyde asked me one time to come do a commercial, one of his commercials. Like he wanted to have investors on there when business was really crazy. I'm like, okay. Well, I actually didn't say okay. I mean, he had to beg me to come down and do it. But he had this like storefront that was empty and they had it all set up like this. Yeah. And he's like, okay, well, just stand here. And they had a producer and I'm like, okay, just say what am I saying again? I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, guys, we're going to have to do this like one line at a time. I am embarrassed. A guy that feels like I talk for a living, but like memorizing that pressure just locks me up. I just absolutely struggle with it. So how is it going through realtor school after being on the investor side? Were you like, I don't know if that's true, or was it like, oh, there's like a whole new world? Like, what was that like?
It was an overload of information. I mean, really? All good information, of course. Some things that I had learned, but in the depth that they teach you, between like fee simple title, joint tenancy, learning all of these different things, the easements, it was that all of that was new to me. And in school, one thing that they really tell you is when you go to real estate school, they're not teaching you how to be a good real estate agent. They're packing you with information that you have to know in order to get your license.
Well, that was going to be my question. Is what were your thoughts on what the actual schooling is?
Yeah, and at least my instructor did. I mean, he told us straight up, this is all information based. Like we're not teaching you how to be a realtor here.
So they don't teach you marketing or any of that?
No, they don't teach marketing. They don't teach scripts or any techniques to get buyers or sellers or anything like that. It's literally just information based solely, so you can get your license.
So it's not shocking that so many agents are not successful.
Yeah.
Because they don't teach you how to run a business. And being an agent, I guess even if, again, my perception so far from the outside, but you're your own business. Yeah. Even if you work for Keller Williams or Berkshire or whoever it is.
Right. Yeah. And that's one way I benefited because I already had the people skills and I was able to talk and carry on conversations, figure out people's sweet spots.
Yeah. And you're just not afraid to pick up the phone and call people back.
Right, right. Oh, yeah. Leave voicemails, text messages. And I mean, I still do that today. Yeah. Like I was telling you earlier, I get a lot of business from expired listings. Some people hang up in my face or they say, oh, I'm going to relist with my agent. And then other people, we have multiple phone calls for hours and hours. There was one lady I met with 4 times before she would list with me. But I didn't mind it because at the end of the day, of course, we're both looking towards the same goal. She wants to sell her house. I want to get paid. Right. But the actually dealing and working with these people, I think is what's most gratifying for me because I get to be myself. They get to relax and be themselves because you think, oh, a real estate agent, and then you got to get all tight and, pretend to be somebody that you're not. And that's kind of on my business and how I approach my business is I'm able to build that relationship. Yeah. And then, like I said, some of my clients are very type A, like boom, boom, boom. This is how I want things, numbers based.
I'm like, can you list it? What's it going to be? Just list it, get it sold, call me when you got showings.
But other people, tell me their whole life stories. And then like some of my sellers, we talk every day. So until it gets sold.
So is that you're mostly a seller's agent?
Yeah.
Right. So what are the 2 types of agents?
So you have a listing agent or you have a buyer's agent. I like to preferably stay on the listing side. And another thing I focus on, like with my new construction builders, is a lot of off-market deals because they need land to build on. Not all of this land is listed. Yeah. The land that is listed, most of the time is overpriced, but and they don't want to pay that, right? Because they're investors. Yeah. So I'm going on the CRS data. I'm driving through different neighborhoods, calling people, just asking, hey, each conversation is different. Yeah. Because I have to look at the property. How big is it? What part of town? What did they pay for it? When did they buy it? Did they inherit it? All these different factors that will once you actually get someone on the phone, if they inherited it, they may not want a lot of money for it. Or they might be like, oh, I want to get all the money that I can out of it.
Great. I want to get you as much money as you can too.
Right.
I'm not one of those wholesalers.
But like I said earlier, I do want to bring people down to reality.
Sure.
Like
well, you want to make the deal happen.
Right.
There's no, same thing we tell wholesalers, just getting the contract does not, you're not getting rich from that. Just getting the listing, you're not
That's
getting
just
rich
the
from
beginning.
that. Yeah, you've got to have it at a number that can get it sold, and then you have to do marketing, which luckily you know how to do a lot of marketing.
Yeah.
So,
Which you definitely helped with that as well. I mean,
well, we're as investors, very guerrilla marketing. Like, we have a short amount of time, so we want to do the best job we can to kind of launch these properties out there. I think one of the things that's probably making you so successful is that you aren't afraid to pick up the phone. You definitely love talking to people and being out there and just showing up. One of the struggles that I always had, not only with wholesalers, but with agents, is I would drive by a house and I'd be like, oh, that seems like a nice house. And I would call the listing, the listing agent, no answer. No return call.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Not me.
what the fuck are you doing? Well, like, why are you doing this?
Right.
Whether it's a We Buy Houses sign or a house for sale or you're an agent, my God.
Yeah.
Just return the call.
Exactly.
Like, being successful in this business is not complicated.
Right.
It's literally just showing up, because it's a sea of mediocrity and idiots out there, and it's mind-boggling how many people just won't do the basics,
Yeah.
Like, if you just do the basics, you're in the top 20%.
Right.
Just show up,
Right. I'm definitely not the top, number one real estate agent in Chattanooga yet, anyways.
But you're on the way. I'm watching.
But yeah, I mean, even when it comes to me, there was a guy, I was looking for a property for a client. It was on the buy side, actually. And so they had their number on the MLS, but it was an office number that went to a VA. The VA they're having some kind of error getting us into this property. It was in a gated community. The code was wrong. Like, every single, like, she'd give us a different code and it wouldn't work. So we have different tools and systems that if you are interested in becoming a real estate agent, or you are one already, we have ways to find out who people are and get their phone number. So I did that to another agent, and he was like, how did you get this number? And I was like, I did my research. I used the app that they provide us with, and he was like, you know what? I'm actually blown away that you did that. Yeah. But I couldn't get through to anybody. Yeah. He had a co-listing agent, VAs, and nobody could help me accomplish what we were trying to do. So I was like, let me just find who this guy is. I'm like FBI investigating, search him up and call him, and I got a hold of him.
I love that, and that's again a trait that makes you successful. Just being unstoppable. Like, this is where I've got to get to. I'm not going to let one obstacle go. Oh, well, I just guess we can't buy this house. We can't get this house. No, there's somebody on the other side of this. I just got to figure out like how to get to that person, or get that solution. So kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, now that you're on the other side, what do realtors really think about investors? Tell us the truth.
Wholesaling.
Spill the beans.
Wholesaler is like a bad word.
Oh, I know. I know. Right.
But some things are changing in the real estate industry, and some laws are changing that are allowing realtors and wholesalers to work together.
Well, the new law in Tennessee actually codified wholesaling. I don't think they intended it to do that, but I think they messed up, and I know for sure the state rep that wrote that law had no idea about it, because he talked to a friend of ours who's runs a local RIA that we were just at, and he talked to him, and they had no idea what the law that they wrote, what it even actually meant. They really. It was silly, but so we're not the most popular people at NAR or at the local meetups.
Right. But I mean, I think more people are coming around to it. Yeah. The biggest issue that I'm finding, especially on the retail side, are wholesalers that come to me and they either don't have very good contracts. Yeah. So there's like a lot of loopholes, or they're not actually binded in any kind of agreement. Yeah. Or they're just overpriced, or they don't know the market. Like, they could be from Alabama or from wherever, and they're like, oh yeah, this is the best thing since sliced bread. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
And you could talk to them like a wholesaler because you've been there.
Exactly.
Like, bro, you're out of whack.
Yeah.
So do you tell them like, hey, first off, your contract's kind of shitty. You got too many outs. I know EMD isn't required, but I know you guys, that's customary for realtors. Right. But do you say, hey, go back and like, if you want one of my buyers, but this is where you need to be.
Right. And either one one or two things happens right there.
Yeah.
I get ghosted and I never hear from them again.
Yeah.
Or they can actually provide me with the documentation and things that we need to move forward. Because at the end of the day, they're trying to sell me something for 65. I know they're trying to make 5 to 10.
Yeah.
And
which is okay. Well, we're not hating on the hustle.
I know there's wiggle room, so to speak.
Yeah.
And my obligation is to my client, not to the wholesaler or the seller in this case, because they're not my client. Right. So I'm looking out for my client's best interest and whatever is going to make them the most profitable and make sense, especially legally when it comes to the legality and title work.
So
that's where a lot
you're
of
definitely open to working with wholesalers.
Yeah, definitely open.
And I think the lesson therefore is if you're a wholesaler, and this is our job, right? Our job as wholesalers is we want to solve people's problems, right? That's what we do. We bring that talent that we can come in here and clean up title or do those types of things. But also, like, we can't squeeze every drop of juice out of this deal, right? Whether I'm taking it to you as an agent to take to your cash buyer, or I'm going out to every cash buyer on Investor Lift, I've got to leave enough meat on the bone that it makes sense for them, And I do think that's a problem for investors is they don't get it at the price that's right. Like, I don't care if you make $30,000 on it, as long as, the end buyer can buy it and he can make his amount of money and you can, if I'm bringing it to you, it makes sense to your guy. Like, my number is irrelevant to what your number is. Your number is just, it has to work for your buyer and they can, do whatever they have to do and make money on it. Because if I bring a deal as a wholesaler to you as an agent and you take it to your buyer, if he can't figure out how he makes money on it, then it's just not a deal, right? So if you're in acquisitions, that's what your mindset has to be, right? Because the deal lives on beyond the day me as a wholesaler, I close on it, right? That's just the beginning of the buyer side. Now the buyer has to take that deal, do the fix up, do the repairs, take the risk, borrow the money, do all things. But at the end, he has to make money. So all of these things work backwards. And if you don't understand that, you're really going to struggle, whether you're going completely off market or, you're listing your deals on the MLS.
Right.
So, yeah. So cool. Any other tips you have now that you've kind of been on both sides for wholesalers or investors who are doing their deals, maybe working with realtors?
I feel like there are a handful of realtors in town that are investor centric and willing and open and actually know how to work with investors. I wouldn't say it's for everybody.
No. No. I would say my guess would be maybe 10% of realtors want anything to do with an investor.
Yeah. And it's because, the typical, they think, we all think investors, they just want to lowball. They don't want to pay full price or this, that, and the third.
Well, nobody wants to pay full price. Nobody wants to.
Not even buyer.
No, the person getting a loan from Bank of America wants it for the best. Everybody wants the best. Understand where everybody's at. The seller wants the most. The buyer wants it for the least, no matter what you're doing. I do think that they're investors. Well, first off, there are bad investors. Let's be clear, there are bad agents too. But I do think we really work in different worlds. I mean, the thing we used to always talk about is there's this circle is investor world, this circle is realtor world, and they just barely kind of come together. We're looking at people who are hoarder houses or tree on the roof or, houses that are in distress or people that are in distress and need to sell very quickly, which is different from what typically agents work with, right? It's somebody who lives in their house and it's good and they're selling it and maybe not in a hurry and they want as much money as they can. Those are just two different complete avatars. And, we just overlap a little bit in the middle. So I wish more agents understood that. And, when I was getting started way back in the day when we were contracting houses at 15 or 20,000, no agent wanted to fool with that and make $600. That's not their world. You know what I mean?
To me, I'll take any deal that comes my way.
Right. All of them pay the light bills.
Exactly. But generally speaking, when it comes to the investor, like I tell my clients, if you can find a better deal elsewhere, by all means, you're not obligated. You're not tied to me. You can do whatever you need to do. And I encourage that. Number one, that continues to build that trust and maintain that relationship.
It makes them even want to come back, because if you made them feel bad about it, they'll feel bad and weird about coming back to do business.
But I tell them all the time, even if another realtor brings you some lots or something that you can profit off of and list, 10 out of 10, he's like, you're going to list it for me. But like I told him, I said, you can find anything, anywhere you want, buy it from anybody. That's totally fine, because at the end of the day, it's in their best interest. And I'm not one of those kind of people, especially in this world, in this business. So many people get caught up in the, this is my client or this is mine and this is how, da-da-da. No. There's enough to go around for everybody.
Yeah.
And if that means you got to work with a wholesaler to get your properties, by all means do it.
Yeah.
But if you want me to, delegate and be part of that deal and help you.
Help structure it.
Right. Then I'll do that too.
And I think that's why you're having so much success, because you do show up and give the value and try to do more than just like push some DocuSign towards somebody.
Yeah.
You're actually helping them, to build that funnel and keep their business going, whether it's properties coming in or properties going out. So,
right.
I mean, that clearly shows why you've taken off so quickly.
Yeah.
So, well, cool. So if somebody is looking for some help, because mainly we're talking to investors here, but you handle like what areas do you handle? Like, I know obviously Chattanooga, North Georgia.
Right. Yeah. Greater Chattanooga, North Georgia. I wouldn't go any further south than Calhoun, Georgia right now. Mm-hmm. And I probably wouldn't go any further north than Spring City.
Okay.
So I kind of want to stay centralized to this area. And I mean, that's just what I'm knowledgeable in and what I can help people with the best. I mean, I'm licensed all over Tennessee and Georgia. I mean, your license is throughout the whole entire state.
Oh, wow.
But I wouldn't start selling properties in Macon unless I was wholesaling.
Yeah.
I wouldn't start listing properties in Macon if, because that's just not my market and what I'm familiar with.
Yeah. And then, because you can't give them good advice, right?
Exactly.
You can't really help them. So I think, for sure, if you're an investor and you're looking for a great, competent realtor who understands our business, definitely reach out to Rachel. I don't know if you want to give them, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me, you can always call me or text me. My number is, and I answer the phone. I answer the phone, 423-298-5427.
Nice.
Or you can follow me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. All of my handles should be the @423agent.
I love that. That's a great handle.
Yeah, I know,
I
right?
saw that. I don't know how you got that. That's really good. But also, if you're a homeowner and you're looking to sell your house, now you have somebody who has experience in all sides of real estate, right? Dealing with cash buyers and understanding what that market is, and then also dealing with retail buyers and builders. So if you're looking to get your house sold and get a real number and get it sold quick, if you're looking to just mess around and throw any number out there, I'll
do that too.
You'll do it, but if you're serious about getting your house sold, you want somebody that can give you real, truthful, honest advice, and make sure that you get the deal done so that you can move on to whatever that next phase of your life is, or whether it's moving or getting rid of a property that you inherited, or whatever it is. So highly recommend that they give you a call.
And I still reach out to other investors and wholesalers. I don't know if I can name drop, but Thomas DeMoss.
Yeah,
I had reached out to him a couple weeks ago because I was driving. I was on my way to a showing, and I saw For Sale by Owner right in the heart of Red Bank.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of that deal we did on Browntown. And it was actually right up the road from Browntown.
Oh, really?
And For Sale by Owner, I see the number, call the guy.
Yeah.
We talk, we meet up. I'm at the house. And it's a really nice house in a great location. He's stripped it down to the studs in multiple areas. Just found out that he has to go through with new PEX plumbing. Needs a new HVAC. The roof is good, thankfully.
It's not leaking. That's good.
Has a big lot, 3/4 of an acre. But the issue was that he was in it too deep already. I talked to Thomas and I was like, I think honestly, even something that I believe somebody else may not see my vision.
Yeah.
I see a really big vision for that property.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the numbers just didn't work, and the guy's already doing all of the construction, and he has connections with electrical people, plumbers. So I just told him honestly, I called him back the other day and I was like, hey, I've looked at this over and over, and I have a big vision for it, but it might be best if you just continue to work on it yourself. And if that works, I think it will work out for him because he has all the tools and resources that he needs. But of course, I wanted to sell it for him, or possibly get a wholesale deal out of it because, it's a superb location. You couldn't ask for a better location. But, when you strip a house down to the studs and...
I know. People think well, I did all this work. I'm like, bro, it's in worse shape than what you paid for it.
Right.
Like, if you paid $150 for it, now it's worth $100. Like, you got to do the work to slingshot it back up to the 2 or the 250. But I think that's a great point, what you bring up. And this is great for acquisitions people, too, is, when you're talking to a seller, if you're a wholesaling, like you should say, hey, why didn't you list this? You're not like surprising them. Like they have thought about listing it, and you've got to get them to say like, oh, geez, I just don't want to deal with whatever it is, right? The things that come along with being, or hey, why don't you fix it up? Oh, I don't have the money, the time, my back's sore, my knees bad, whatever. Why don't you do all of these things until like working with you is the best answer, right? And that's again comes into trust of, hey, I can help you solve your problem. Right. So whether you're an investor or a realtor, like that's the crux of what we're doing is not just making people believe that, but following through, because you can trick somebody once, but your reputation, especially as an agent working in one area, is going to be so important, and that's what will bring you that repeat business. So I think that's fantastic. So I'm so happy for your success. I love that you're doing it. I follow all of the stuff you're doing. I cannot encourage you guys enough. Have your act together though before you call her or text her. Don't be a banana head. Don't make me look bad by sending you a bunch of bad wholesalers. But if you're good and you know your numbers, definitely reach out to Rachel. If you are a seller looking for somebody just honorable, trustworthy, and somebody that will just work tirelessly for you, I can't recommend you enough.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Any final words for anybody out there?
If you're looking to close a deal, you definitely need to go to Easy REI Closings.
Yeah, we'd love to help you out.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for coming in. It was a pleasure. I'm glad that we got to schedule this. I know we were trying a bunch of times, but you're one of my favorite people, so I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you.
All right, guys, if you enjoyed this, make sure you share it, especially if you are in Chattanooga. We're going to post this in all of the groups, and make sure that you're using my girl here for all your real estate needs. Thank you, and we will see you on the next one.